Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this afternoon session. Just myself on the session with you all today. So do bear with me here and there if you have any questions, but please keep submitting them. I'll try my best to pick up as many of those as I can. Not a lot of you on the session, so hopefully we'll get a good opportunity to maybe veer off here and there if there are questions which maybe could do a demo a little bit here and there. Or maybe if it's pertinent to what we're talking about, we'll try and pick them up then as well. So welcome along to, this is part 2 of our budgeting series of webinars. This month we've also been running part 1, which looks at the standard budgeting method. So part 2 is always also basically about the advanced budgeting methods that you've got available. There are 3 of those in Sage. Session should last around about 45 minutes. The start time is 2 o'clock, just in case you're looking at my slide there. Not sure why. I'm sure I changed that about 5 minutes ago. Anyway, so we'll get going. Now, just before we get stuck in, I'm sure most of you, and I recognize quite a few of the names on the list there of who's attending today, but just in case anyone is new or maybe you haven't attended for a while, just so you know what's going to be happening. Obviously, I'll be sharing my screen. You'll see me working in the software. I'm just going to be talking away and running various demos, etc. I'll be switching between the live demo and some slides, which will just give us a little bit of structure. You don't need a microphone for these sessions either. If you've got one, it'll just be muted. You can't unmute yourself. So any questions for me today, pop them in the questions panel. To access that, you just need to click the little speech bubble icon, give it a click, and then you'll have access to that box in the bottom right-hand corner. So comments, questions, pop them in there. Click send. Remember to do that. We are quite good on the webinars, but we're not that clever. We will need to see what your question actually is. So remember to click send. And then, as I say, I'll try and pick up as many of those as I can. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available via the handout option. However, as normal, and I always stress this, the handout is just literally a copy of the slides. It's not detailed instructions on the advanced options. It will just be a top level overview. If you want the detailed information about anything we cover on the webinars, you will find that in our help center. Loads of great articles and other resources in there. But if you do want them, do take that opportunity during the session just to get them downloaded. As normal, this webinar is being recorded and you will receive the follow-up email, as usual, around about an hour after we finish. That's what we normally schedule it for. And that will include a link to today's recording. So if you do need a bit of a recap, or maybe you're not ready to switch to budgeting yet or start using it, or maybe you're not ready to switch to the advanced method, then you've always got that link to the recording if you keep hold of that email. They are available on our website though. The other 2 links you will get is to our registration page. Loads of sessions coming up. Do get yourself registered. Opportunity next week and the week after to earn your next digital badge, which will be looking at management reports if you attend a specific number of sessions. So watch out for that one. Again, the link to get yourself registered will be included on your follow-up email. I'll tell you more about those a little bit later on though. And the other link on that email will be to our recordings page. So if you miss any other topics, or maybe we're not running it as a live session at the moment, then do use that option. Right, anyway, we're just about ready to get going. So let's have a look at what we're going to be covering. So we're going to start with an introduction, which is almost a repeat if you've attended the standard budgeting method. If you didn't attend that one, then obviously the recording is available on the recordings list. So again, link will be included on your follow-up email. So start with a basic introduction. We'll then run through a series of demonstrations, again, reminding you, for those of you that did attend part 1, how you can set and check your method. We'll then run through the 3 advanced methods, so explaining the options and the differences you've got. Now, reports is a tricky one to cover. And the reason for that is that obviously there are different levels of the software, so what we term different variants. So you've got essential, standard, professional, but also you've got the different methods as well. Different reports will be available depending on what you're on. So a combination means it's quite tricky to explain about reports, but we'll point you in the right direction. And I would encourage you, if you are considering it, and this is something that people do a lot in this sort of area when we talk about budgeting or using departments or things of that nature, where it's maybe something new to you, where you can give it a go. You've got access to both the demonstration data, which has got loads of information in there already, so you can play around with it. But also these days, you've got the practice company as well, which you've had for many, many years. But the practice company, if you're on version 30 or 31, I think it is, need to check that one, it will enable you to restore a backup of your data into that practice company. Have a bit play around with it without obviously impacting on your live company. And then when you close out, it'll just reset that practice company. It doesn't hold any information in the practice company. Or otherwise, it would just be a blank company. And it means sometimes a little bit easier to follow things through. So I'll explain more about that when we get to it. Just at the end, we'll explain more about additional support. Again, pick up on some of those webinars we've got coming up that may be of interest. And then if there are any outstanding questions, I'll try and pick those up as well. Right, let's get stuck in, because quite a bit to get through with there being the 3 methods this time, but it's probably going to feel quite repetitive because we're going to cover the same sort of information for each of the 3 methods, so do bear with me. So again, just as a little bit of background to budgeting in Sage 50, it's easy to set and check your method, just settings, company preferences, and then you've got the budgeting tab. Your screen may look a little bit different to the screenshot I've got there because it can be dependent on what options and you've got enabled in your software, your resolution, etc. Even just your color scheme can look a little bit different. But you'll have the budgeting tab at the top, and then you'll have the budgeting method area. So again, just as a recap, there are 4 methods in Sage for budget when it comes to budgets, other than doing nothing at all. There's the standard method, which is available in all levels, so essential, standard, and professional. And then there are the 3 advanced options, which is what we're looking at today. So nominal code, department overview, and department in depth. All will, and I suppose relevance-wise, it will depend on what information you want to get out of the system. So it's normally understanding what's available, but then having a think, right, well, what do I want to get from Sage 50 accounts with regard to my data? What do I want to report on? And it's weighing up sort of the effort it takes to key that in versus the reward you're going to get when you need the information at the end. But if you're on the essentials level, which you don't have the advanced method, then welcome along anyway. You never know, it might just be another sort of tick in the box for upgrading to a higher level of the software. Right, so we'll get stuck in. Actually, we will do that in a moment. I'm just going to quickly recap on sort of setting and checking your method first of all. So if I can find the right option, there we go. You should see my screen. If I just pop into my first of my companies that I've got set up for budgets, just as a bit of a reminder, and we'll run through this anyway as we go through the various options, just so make sure I'm still set up for the right method for that part of the demo. So to check your method, you'll just go into settings and then company preferences, so second option on the menu there. Now it will prompt you to re-enter your password. And then just on the budgeting tab at the top, we can see the method in this case is advanced. And then the budgeting type in my case is nominal code. So because I'm set up for the advanced, it gives me the 3 options. So this one's set up for nominal code. So that's how you can check. If you're not sure about the level of the software you're on as well, it will normally tell you on the title bar at the top here. So very top left corner, mine says Sage 50 Accounts. It's the professional version I'm using today. So it's either going to say Sage 50 Accounts Essentials, Standard, or Professional. It'll then have your company name. We'll follow that. Just in case anyone's wondering and thinking, oh, mine looks a little bit different. That'll be why. Right, let's head back to the slides and we'll get stuck into chatting a little bit about the 3 methods. Obviously, we'll introduce each method and just tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll go into the software so you can see it in action. Now, the The advanced by nominal code, which is the first one we're going to choose as it's first on the list when the drop down, it's very similar to the standard method of budgeting, but there are extra benefits. So when I say by the standard method, that's what we covered in part one, where you went into the nominal record, and for each nominal record within it, you would have the budgets column and you would key that information in. But as I say, there are extra benefits with it being advanced. So the extra benefits are basically you've got your current year's budgets. It'll retain previous year's budgets as well. So they do that for an additional 5 years. So the 5 financial years prior to your current, those budgets would be retained. You can't amend those as well historically. So once they're in a previous financial year, those budget figures are cast in stone, basically. So you've got your 5 years, previous years, you've got your current year, and I suppose the big benefit is you've got your forecast year. So if you're approaching your year end, or maybe you've even gone beyond your year end, if you're thinking, well, we've got budget figures, but actually we want to change them for next year, but we want to leave the existing budgets intact, then that's where the advantage and the big benefit of having a forecast year comes in. So when you run a year end, it'll say, right, what do you want to set as your new financial year's budgets? And you would just say, right, I want to use those entered in the forecast year. There is a copy values option as well. So once you've entered a value, you can just copy that to succeeding months. We'll look at how you go about entering your figures as well. And when you do use the copy values, you can choose to increase or decrease subsequent figures in that relevant financial year by a value or even a percentage. Now, one of the big, I would say it's probably a big limitation of the advanced method compared to the standard method, is that with the advanced method, you can't import your budget figures. You've got to enter them manually. Whereas if you have attended part one, you looked at standard, you might remember that as part of importing nominal records, you can also include budget figures, but you can't import into the advanced budgeting area. Now, I've included a link to our relevant Help Center article for each of the methods that we're covering today. So easy to find though if you visit our Help Center. Right, let's get stuck into advanced by nominal code then. So across to my screen, we'll get started. So we've already checked the method for this one when we went into settings, company preferences, budgeting tab, and we were set to advanced nominal code. Now, if you go into a nominal code, so remember part one, we went into a nominal record and we called up, I think we used nominal 4,000 and a few others in the sales range as well when we did that demo. And what you would have done on the standard method is you had this budgets column. So between actuals and your prior year, you had this budgets column, but you don't get that. That column is removed once you set up on one of the advanced methods. So it's a bit of a giveaway normally that you are set up on the advanced method. You can actually hide columns in here as well. So if you just right click a column heading, you can actually, if I wanted to get rid of this previous financial year, don't want to see those figures, I can just switch that column off. So you'll notice even when I right click, budgets isn't listed, and that's, as I say, it's because I'm set up on the advanced method. There are obviously, you can display additional financial years as well if you want to. So you can't access it that way. Instead, what you need to do, two methods of accessing it, is one is to go into departments, and then you've got the budgets option at the top. That would take us into the budgets area. Alternatively, you can go into nominal codes, and you've also got the budgets option. Again, it takes you into the same screen. So we'll just quickly work through this one to give you an idea of what options you've got. So this is the key area, I suppose, helping you to get to the nominal codes. So this is advanced by nominal code. So budget is set at nominal code level. So we got a little bit of information over here on the right. First of all, you can view your budgets by selecting the relevant year. Obviously, I'm in the 2025 financial year. We're basing the sort of the nominal structure, as it were, around a specific chart of accounts. This is, you may have seen that in the budgeting tab where there was a default set. So it would pull that through. So it picks up whatever you've got that set to. And then after that, it's a case of drilling down to the relevant nominal code. Now, if you're familiar with management reports, great. If you're not, get yourself signed up for the management report sessions that we're running from next week to learn more about them. But if you are, you might be familiar with the chart of accounts. Again, we're running a session on that one next week. So if we expand our sales section, it looks at the chart of accounts and it says, right, these are essentially the groupings that you've got within that chart of accounts. So we got one for product sales. Now, if you're familiar with the chart of accounts, you'll know then that it would have a low and a high value relating to nominal codes. So at this point, if I click on sales, I can't click at the bottom. It doesn't do anything. If I click onto product sales, again, I can try clicking, but it doesn't let me do anything in this sort of monthly breakdown. What I need to do is go all the way down to nominal code level. So I need to expand the category. It'll then list the nominal codes that are as part for the nominal range for that category. And then when I highlight a specific nominal code, it will then make the bottom boxes active at that point. So at this point, it's very similar to the standard method. You've got the monthly breakdown. You can just click into the boxes. So rather than going sort of vertically down the months, you're now going horizontally. So this is the budget row, I should say. Obviously, it relates to my financial year for January 25 to December 2025 in this case. And it would just be a case of clicking the relevant box and keying in the relevant value. So you can click against any box and that's it done. As you do that, obviously it's going to start adding up that total budget. So if I change this one to say 10,000, you'll see that this value here is amended. Now, similar to the standard method as well, remember with the standard method, you could input it manually each month, but you could also click into the total budget. So if I said 24,000, just as an example, when I tab out of that field, I'll get a similar message to what we get on the standard method when you enter a total budget. It's just saying, do you wish to apportion this value across 12 months? So slightly different wording, but essentially the same thing as what's on the standard method. Now, if I click no, I'm just back to where I was. However, if I do that again, and this time we'll click yes, what it does, it'll overwrite these figures that we've got here. So if I just click yes to that, and you'll see for that 24,000, it's divided evenly between the 12 months of my financial year. Now, that doesn't mean it's cast in stone. You can amend budget values at any time for your current financial year or your forecast year. So I want to change the July value, for instance, change it to 7,000. We can easily do that. Just a case of typing it in. And it will then adjust the total budget at the top here. And you would just repeat that for each nominal code that you want to pop that against. Now remember, this sort of structure at the top here, it's dictated by your chart of accounts. If you are not confident with the chart of accounts or you want to start making amends, do get yourself registered for that webinar that we're running next week and the week after. I think Jackie's going to be running that one. She'll take you through the ins and outs of the chart of accounts. So if you wanted things like narrow down ranges, maybe you just want a range which picks up one nominal code only, you can do that sort of thing so that your reports are then maybe a bit more detailed. You see more of a breakdown. So it's just a case of repeating that for your various sections. So for your sales, your purchases, again, you just need to drill all the way down. Make sure you highlight the relevant nominal code, and then you can start keying in. They all work exactly the same way. Now, if you pop back to sales, product sales and 4,000, so we've looked at keying them in manually. We've got the total budget option as well. You've then got your actual, so that would be the equivalent of the information in that actual column from the nominal record. And then you've got your variance as well, so the actual minus the budget. So they will just calculate automatically as you work and continue to enter transactions. The other big benefit was the forecast year. So the forecast year, you can't enter a total forecast value in the way that you can for your current year's budgets. Again, it's just a case of keying them in. Now, when you click against one of the fields here, you'll see that copy values becomes active. If I click it out of the forecast year, I've activated it now. So we'll just do that one again. So let's say this one's 2000. Now, when I click copy values, I'm going to be given this option here. Do you want an incremental or do you want it uniform? So just depends what you're after. So if we do incremental, we'll say we want that to go up by, let's just say 10. And if we OK that, you will see it's the subsequent months have that increased value. So again, it's another way. I could have just done that as sort of, I just want to set that to 0, and it would copy that all the way along. So it's another way of getting those figures in there. There's not an easy way either of removing your budgets other than sitting there keying them in. Again, you've got that option. So if we wanted to remove a budget, we could click 0 and then just click yes. And as you see, it would wipe out the budgets I've just keyed in. So we'll just put some back in there. Yes to that, and then we're off and running again. Now, other than that, we just save it, and that's it done. It's just a case of going through each of those nominal codes and entering the appropriate budgets. Any questions on setting up your budgets for that specific method? Do keep them coming if you think of anything. If you're not sure of anything, you see something in the background. As I say, no silly question other than the one that's not asked. You don't want to sit there wondering about something throughout. Pop it in there. We try not to, definitely don't name and shame. So pop it in there. We'll just quickly read them out. So a quick question there. Can you only use the budget monthly breakdown if you run your year end? Otherwise, it's the forecast. Again, it will depend on your reports. You're not going to see any comparisons on that screen. So if you're wanting to, let's just go back into that one so I can try and explain it a bit. So if we go into the 4,000 nominal code again, we don't see, if you've gone beyond the end of your current financial year, so let's say I've gone into 2026, but actually I haven't run year end yet, I won't see any sort of calculation here against that forecast year. Obviously, when we run year end, anything for 2026, the relevant months would then go into that relevant financial year then, and you'd see obviously the breakdown. You get the analysis that way. You do have an option of printing that information, of course, sending it to Excel as well. But that's sent to Excel, it's based on what you're looking at. Diane will come back to the reporting a little bit later on. So Diane's just asking, where do you see a full picture of your budget? Right, let's head back to the slides. We'll pick up on our second advanced method, which is the department overview. So the department overview is exactly what it says. You set up a budget for each department, and you would analyze income and costs by nominal category. But by nominal category, we're not drilling down to nominal code on this one. We're just entering basically a budget based around one total for sales per department, one total for purchases, etc. Hope that makes sense. So again, you've got the same benefits. You've still got the ability to see previous year's budgets. You've got your current year, you've got your forecast year. And again, as I say, it's quite repetitive. So I'm not going to go through each of these each time. So it's the same sort of thing. You can copy values, etc. And again, for all of the advanced methods, you cannot import values. Right, let's have a quick look at the second of our methods then. So I'm just going to switch company. So this is the one I'm after, department overview. I will make sure it's still set to that as well. So remember to check your method, settings, company preferences. Pop in your password if it prompts you. Budgeting tab. So we're still set up advanced department overview. So we'll just okay that. Right, we access it in exactly the same way. So pop into departments this time. Now this time we will see some extra columns because we're working in the departments area, and we've chosen one of the two advanced methods that is based around departments. So you can display quite a few extra columns on this one. These are the defaults. So current month revenue variance, you've got year-to-date revenue variance, and you've got current month expense variance, and again similar year-to-date as well. And if you just right-click, you will get a summary of those, whatever it is you're after. So if I want to see revenue actuals, I just switch that on. I can see, right, well, revenue recorded against department number 1 in this instance is 567. We can see obviously other options as well. So just, as I say, right click on your column headings and you can choose what you want to display. I'm just going to set that back to use defaults. Right, so we access the budget area in the same way, so either via, again, departments and budgets on the toolbar, or also through nominal and budgets. Similar sort of screen. The main difference this time is this section at the top. You need to choose the department that you want to look at or set the budget for. If you're not familiar with departments, we did run a webinar on departments this morning. So there is a recording available. Again, you'll have the link to the recordings on your follow-up email. So this section, pretty much the same. Choosing your financial year, chart of accounts, etc. There is a notes box there as well, just if you do want to enter anything. You've got your annual budget. So it's this section that's different. Now you'll remember on the previous method, advanced by nominal code, for sales we had to drill down and then it gave us the nominal categories, or the ranges that existed within the chart of accounts. And then we drill down again to get down to nominal code level. We don't have that for department overview. Instead, if we choose department 1, we just basically choose our nominal area. So let's say sales, and these are now active. Anuja, you mentioned there if you don't choose any department in the department budget. So basically it's going to default to department 0. So department 0 works in exactly the same way. If you've never used departments before, you'll probably find that everything is set to 0. So probably all your customer default department, your product record default departments, your suppliers, your bank transactions, basically anything you enter will probably be set to department 0. So it will select one, or it will select 0 by default. So anyway, if I select department number 1, it's then just a case of choosing your relevant area that you want to enter budget figures against. And then again, you've got pretty much the same options at the bottom. You would basically key in your budget values, or you can enter that total budget value. So again, if I just entered 24,000, tab out of the field, same message, just click yes. So it puts 2,000 against each month for department 1 for my sales nominal codes in total. That's almost like the difference. Similarly, you can select purchases, direct expenses, etc. So it's top level, hence the title, Department Overview. So I think that's probably as far as we need to go on that one. So let's just save that where we're up to. If we go back to departments, and obviously for our revenue budget for the current month, we've now CM, so current month, or year to date, it will show us what our budget figure is for the current month, and it will obviously do certain calculations depending on what columns you've got displayed, of course. So again, you sort of see an overview from here, and you can print that list, and you can also send it to Excel as well. So a nice, easy way of getting top line figures onto some form of a report, just send to Excel. Often it's overlooked, that one. Right, okay. I'm going to go back to the slides. We'll pick up on the third method that we're going to cover in today's session, and it's department in depth. Now, this is by far the most detailed analysis option that you've got available for budgets. It enables you, basically, it's almost like combines the last two. You set up budget for each department, but you do that by nominal code. So for every department that you've got, you can set a budget against an individual nominal code. So this can be quite lengthy and can be quite time consuming when you first set this up as well, just to key it in and maintain those. So again, this is one of the reasons I like to say, once you've viewed the three options, have a bit think about what information you want to get out. The time it takes, does it outweigh the benefits, or vice versa? So again, same benefits though. It's just you're going all the way down to nominal code level. Let's have a look at that. Again, I'll switch to my third company, the one I've got set up for this method. Right, so let's just check we are set up as expected. So settings, company preferences. We've got the budgeting tab. Again, this was the default layout of accounts I was talking about earlier. If you've got more than one, you can set that in advance for that budgets area. So we just OK that. We access it in exactly the same way. So into departments, you've got your relevant column headings again. I've only got a couple switched on this time. So you can pick and choose which ones you want, whether you want current months or year-to-dates, or maybe a combination of them. So we access it in exactly the same way into budgets, and looks like a similar layout to what we just looked at. However, this time you've got the ability to drill down. So this section looks like it did for the very first method that we looked at. So we choose our department. Let's just say department 1. And then we need to drill down all the way to nominal code level. And then when we do that, then it will activate the options here. So as I say, this one's, well, as it would suggest, it's in depth. It's the most detailed option of the three. You've got the same options for keying them in, entering a total or manually entering values, or maybe a combination of the two. You've got your forecast year, works in exactly the same way as what we looked at previously. And that really, for the advanced binomial code, that's it. As I say, it's quite repetitive, the three methods. When we talk about them, you've got the same benefits. It's just that level of analysis depends on what you want. Right, now some things to quickly pick up on as well. And I had one just as I was talking, I thought, right, I must mention that one. It's just gone completely out of my head, that one. Maybe it'll come back to me. Right, okay. Let's quickly pop back to the slides. Now, I am going to look at reports in a little bit of detail. Again, I don't want to spend too much for the reasons I mentioned earlier. With regard to budgets, there's some great resources available for reports. There's the report finder if you're on version 30 or above. And the idea of the report finder, we used to have this article, which is still available in our help center, the Which Report, so that second link. And that Which Report guide would give you an option similar to what you can see on the screenshot there. And the idea of that is you can start filtering down the reports to say, right, give me a list of reports by department or customer reports. But so you can apply filters to see what information you want to be included. You can also pop in some keywords as well. And the idea of this is it will try and identify the report that you're after that contains the information you need. And it will list the reports, tell you where to find them, what they show, etc. Now that was Which Report. In version 30 and above, if you've got your Sage accounts linked to a Sage account, which hopefully the majority of you do, then you will actually have the option available when you go into any ledger and then you go to reports. There's the report finder option. And again, it will try and achieve the same thing. So it lets you pop in some almost like a free text. And again, it will search for that for you to try and find the report you're after. So if you're in customers and you're looking for, let's say a profit and loss report, for instance, you could type that in. It would say, right, well, actually, well, that's in the sort of within nominal codes. You find it there. So we'll try and identify the relevant report for you. It's probably one of our biggest support queries. Which report do I run for this, or where do I find a report for that? So the idea of these options, they help with that. Now, previously we have run a budgets part 3 session, which does go into analysis and reports in a bit more detail. So I'm going to try and just almost like point you in the right direction a bit. So if I go back to my screen, there we go. We'll just save whatever we did there and close out. So for reporting wise, a lot of people will look at nominal codes, and you've got things like your comparative P&L. Now the comparative P&L, when you run this report, it does ask you about budget figures. Now these budget figures, they refer to the ones in the nominal records themselves, not the budget values that we've just talked about. Instead, you will need to run other reports if needed. And the availability of reports will be dependent on the variant of the software you're running. So again, that's why I would like you to, if you can, use the Which Report or refer to the Budgets Part 3 recording, which the link will be included on your follow-up email. Reports you do have available though, you probably find the basic ones within reports themselves. So you've got things like, well, I suppose it depends what you're after. You've got the advanced budgets folder. It gives you some for starters. You tend to find with budgets, a lot of businesses will be after something slightly different. So there's not a lot of standard reports provided for you in this area. But again, it's just a case of having a look through to find out what's available. So do use those resources and do check out that webinar recording. So obviously this one is a very good one. Profit and loss by department, and it's used when you're on the advanced budgets, and it'll include the advanced budget and variance options. Right, okay. Now the final thing to quickly mention there to you is give it a go. With budgets, obviously you can lose budgets by changing your method. So give it a go, but do it either in the demo data or the practice data. As I mentioned, if you're on version definitely 31, I'll check with 30. I'll just quickly show you these options. If I find my screen there, we'll close out of, I'm on version 29 for that demo. But if go to, actually we'll just pop in version 31. So with Sage Accounts, obviously you've got the opportunity to access the demo company. And to do that, you can either do it when you first open Sage. It will give you, if you've got multiple companies or even just yours, it will list demonstration company or demonstration data, I think it is, or practice data. If you're already in your company, just in case if you go into File, Open, and then you'll have the two listed. So you've got the demo data. Demo data has loads of customers and suppliers already entered. Sometimes when you're trying things, it's a little bit difficult to almost like see the woods for the trees, for the want of a better phrase, because there's already loads of information in there and you don't know how it's being used in the demonstration data. The practice data, however, go File, Open Practice Data. It's a little bit different this time. You can either start from scratch, so there'll be no customers, no suppliers, no transactions, no nothing. It means that if you do something, you can then follow that through and see what the impact is. So if you want to play around with the budgeting methods, check your reports, etc., enter transactions, see if you can get out the information you specifically need for your company, then try that. If you want to have a play around in the practice company, but you want to use a copy of your data, then you've got this option here, use my data. And it'd just be a case of you browsing to your backup file, clicking continue, it'll restore that backup file into the practice company. And again, you can start experimenting with the budgets at that point. That means that you can have a play around sort of with familiar data without it impacting on the live version of that data. When you close out the practice data, it will just reset itself. It will knock that back out. So give them a go. Right, I'll start picking up a few of those questions in a moment as well. If you've got any more, apologies if I don't get round to answering them all. I'll try my best. I'll pick up some. If I can't, I'll drop you an email either this afternoon or early tomorrow morning. We'll get an answer to you one way or another. Remember, you've got the opportunity to download the handouts. So if you want a copy of those slides, those are available to download. The detailed information, as I mentioned earlier, that's in the Help Centre. Help Centre, great resource, loads in there, support guides, webinars, videos, ways to get in touch with our support team as well. It'll outline those for you. Obviously, you can either start browsing through what we term the various support hubs that are listed, or you can search. Just depends what you're after. And before I go to questions, I'm going to just want to quickly take the opportunity to thank you for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it and it's given you maybe a little bit food for thought. A lot of you, I'm sure, will go away maybe with more questions what you came with. Have a go at the demo data and the practice company. It'll probably answer those for you. You probably have a go. There will be a little survey pop up as you leave. So if you can take a minute to complete that, it'd be greatly appreciated. We'd love to know what you think about the webinars, any thoughts, ideas, topics you'd like to see covered, that sort of thing. Pop it on there. Should take you about a minute max. And the follow-up email with the various links on, including a link to today's recording, that will be with you in round about an hour's time. Right, so quick question from Diane, first of all, just popped in there. So Diane's question, can you set up a budget mid-year? Absolutely. You can enter your budgets at any time. The one thing to be aware of as well with the advanced budget methods, I'll just quickly cover this one, is when you go to run a year end, and some of you may have been on one of my year end sessions in the past as well, when you go to run a year end, you get this little option here in the middle sort of section. So what do you want to base next year's budgets on? So if you tick the box, it will give you the options. Now, if you're actually set up with one of the advanced methods, I'm back to being set up for the standard method now, you will actually get a third option here. So you get a choice of saying, right, the budgets for my new financial year, do I just want to use the actuals figures? So your actual sales, purchases, etc. Do you want to leave the existing budgets intact? Or if you set up for an advanced method, it will say the forecast. Now, if you set up for an advanced method, if you've entered forecast budgets, that's the whole point of doing it, it will use those for what will be your new financial year. But again, going back to Diane's question, yes, you can set up your budgets at any point. So that's not a problem. Even if you choose those methods as part of that year-end process, you can still go in and change your budget figures. So that's not a problem. Oh, didn't have my screen share there. Sorry about that. Getting carried away there. So just let me show you that one again. Apologies for that one. Thanks for pointing that out, Karen. Getting carried away. So back into year end. So it was this option here. So when if you want to set budgets or use budgets for your what will be your new financial year, just tick the box. And as I say, it's this option here. You would get a third option that says forecast. So you can choose what you want to base next year's budgets on. And obviously, if you are using advanced, then the whole point is like you set maybe entering a forecast year, so you would use those. If you don't set budgets at this point, so I'm sure some of you aren't using budgets yet in your software, don't worry, even if you don't tick that box, and again, sort of linking in with Diane's question there, can you set up a budget mid-year? Any time you want, not a problem. So even if you don't select this, you run year end, you'll still be able to set up budgets going forward. Nicola, you mentioned about fund accounting. I'll come back to you on that one. It's a while since I've looked at the sort of the fund option in Sage. Just need to remind myself rather than guess it, how that works. Karen, you were mentioning there, can we show you how you populated the forecast area of budgets? Let me just switch. I'll go back to the company that I was using just a few minutes ago, which was version 29. And then once I'm logged in, if we go back into the budgets area, and again, for the sort of making sure you select the appropriate level for the type of budget you're on, the forecast is just this bit at the bottom here. So again, it's either a case of clicking through, obviously you can tab through them as well. If you need to go in the other direction, it's just shift and tab. Just a case of manually keying those in, or if you wanted to sort of key in a value, what you can then do is use that copy values option at the top, and you can just say uniform. If I just set mine to, I'll just leave it set to 0, and it just means you've got that 3,000 across there. So it's again another quick way of keying that in. Only thing with that one is you can't key in a total and get it to divide equally, which you can obviously for your current financial year's budgets. Let's see what else we've got. Joe, you mentioned there, yeah, you're still there. So Joe's question on the advanced method, does it combine totals for the different nominal codes to give you an overall total? I think the idea of that one is it's going to do it by department. So the idea is you're using a departmental method. So when we're looking at this information in the background, I'm in one of just the nominal code method at the moment, but that information that was displayed there, it's going to be adding all the relevant sort of the revenue values together, those sales figures for all of the nominal codes and for that specific department. Reporting wise, if you can't find what you're after, get in touch with our support team. We've got the report design service as well. Some of you as part of that will be entitled to free reports design, depending on the level of your support and your subscription. Others, it might be you might just go, actually they believe it'll point you in the right direction. Is it available, is it not? If not, and you really need it, there are various options for you, either designing reports in Sage or possibly even one of the more advanced options, having it designed in Excel. So it can pull that information through automatically for analysis. It's a really powerful way of reporting, that one. But again, have a good look. Play with the either the demo or the practice companies. See what you can get at. Anuja, you mentioned there, can you enter budget? Can we enter the departmental via the nominal code? You can't do it if you're on the advanced method. You can't go into nominal codes themselves and enter budgets. They've got to be done within the budget areas themselves. If you're wondering why maybe you don't have the budgets icon at the top, it's because you're on the standard method. If you're on the advanced method, you will have that option available to you. Right, can we, that's anything else? Have I missed anything? Right, I think that's it. I'll have a good look through those questions. So Nicola, I'll definitely get back to you about your fund accounting. I'll either get back to you later today or tomorrow morning. For everyone else, if I've missed your question, apologies for that one, but I will have a look through and be in touch if there's anything I've missed. But many thanks for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it. Do take that minute to complete the survey, and I hope to see you on some other webinars very soon. Many thanks.